everyone. I think I figured out how to use Facebook Live. I was making it more complicated than it needed to be, and I'm back. So my dinner is cooking. I hope that you have either eaten or will be having a yummy dinner soon. But I just wanted to come on and share with everybody that I've sent out an email with a link to the district's learning opportunities for the time that we're at home. And I also attached a copy of my schedule of things that I'm going to try and do to supplement what the district already has out there. Their folder for kindergarten is amazing. I am so grateful to all of the district coordinators who worked so hard on that. They did a really good job. So that's exciting. And I want to share with you the book that I'm going to read. Some of you may have followed along last year, and I'm trying to sit up so that the glare doesn't show off of my glasses because it's really bothersome to me, but I'm sure you'll forgive me if it's glary. Anyway, last year we had Charlotte's Web as our one school, one book choice. Oops, I think it was last year. And this is one of my favorite books. I love Charlotte's Web, and springtime is the perfect time to enjoy Charlotte's Web. And as you can see, parents, families, this book is very old. It was $1.25. This was my copy, or is my copy of Charlotte's Web from when I was a little girl. So if anyone's watching and you can see this video, could you please let me know that it's actually working? I'm hoping that it's working, because if I do this chapter again and it doesn't work, I'm going to be so sad. Anyway, Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Here you can see in the front, on this cover, can you see it? My mom wrote my name inside the book. That's her handwriting. And then I, as a little kid, decided that I wanted to write fractions. Not sure why. That's very silly. But this is a special book to me. I hope you enjoy. The first chapter is called Before Breakfast. Okay. So, Charlotte's Web. Before breakfast. "Where is Papa going with that axe?" said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. "Out to the hog house," replied Mrs. Arable. "Some pigs were born last night." "I don't see why he needs an axe," continued Fern, who was only 8. "Well," said her mother, "one of the pigs is a runt. It's very small and weak, and it will never amount to anything. So your father has decided to do away with it." "Do away with it?" shrieked Fern. "You mean kill it? Just because it's smaller than the others?" Mrs. Arable put a pitcher of cream on the table. "Don't yell, Fern," she said. "Your father is right. The pig would probably die anyway." Fern pushed her chair out of the way and ran outdoors. The grass was wet and the earth smelled of springtime. Fern's sneakers were sopping by the time she caught up with her father. "Please don't kill it," she sobbed. "It's unfair." Mr. Arable stopped walking. "Fern," he said gently, "you will have to learn how to control yourself." "Control myself!" yelled Fern. "This is a matter of life and death, and you talk about controlling myself." Tears ran down her cheeks, and she took hold of the axe and tried to pull it out of her father's hand. "Fern," said Mr. Arable, "I know more about raising a litter of pigs than you do. A weakling makes trouble. Now, run along." "But it's unfair," cried Fern. "The pig couldn't help being born small, could it? If I had been born very small at birth, would you have killed me?" Mr. Arable smiled. "Certainly not," he said, looking down at his daughter with love. "But this is different. A little girl is one thing, a little runty pig is another." "I see no difference," replied Fern, still hanging on to the axe. "Hi, Declan. I miss you, buddy." This is the most terrible case of injustice I ever heard of. A strange look came over John Arable's face. He seemed almost ready to cry himself. All right, he said. You go back to the house and I will bring the runt when I come in. I'll let you start it on a bottle like a baby. Then you'll see what trouble a pig could be. When Mr. Arable returned to the house half an hour later, he carried a carton under his arm. Fern was upstairs changing her sneakers. The kitchen table was set for breakfast, and the room smelled of coffee, bacon, damp plaster, and wood smoke from the stove. Put it on her chair, said Mrs. Arable. Mr. Arable set the carton down at Fern's place. And here you can see, here's Fern fighting for the pig's life. Can you see? Yeah. She wanted to save that pig, right? Then Mr. Arable walked to the sink and washed his hands and dried them on the roll of towel. Fern came slowly down the stairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled, and there was a scratching noise. Fern looked at her father. Then she lifted the lid of the carton. There inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears, turning them pink. He's yours, said Mr. Arable, saved from an untimely death, and may the good Lord forgive me for this foolishness. Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. Oh, she whispered, oh, look at him. He's absolutely perfect. She closed the carton carefully. First she kissed her father, and then she kissed her mother. Then she opened the lid again. She lifted the pig out and held it against her cheek. At this very moment her brother Avery came into the room. Avery was 10. He was heavily armed, an air rifle in one hand and a wooden dagger in the other. What's that? He demanded. What's Fern got? She's got a guest for breakfast, said Mrs. Arable. Wash your hands and face, Avery. Let's see it, said Avery, setting his gun down. You call that miserable thing a pig? That's a fine specimen of a pig. It's no bigger than a white rat. Wash up and eat your breakfast, Avery, said his mother. The school bus will be along in a half an hour. Can I have a pig too, Pop? Asked Avery. No, I only distribute pigs to early risers, said Mr. Arable. Fern was up at daylight trying to rid the world of injustice. As a result, she now has a pig. A small one, to be sure, but nevertheless a pig. It just shows what can happen if a person gets out of bed promptly. Let's eat. But Fern couldn't eat until her pig had had a drink of milk. Mrs. Arable found a baby's nursing bottle and a rubber nipple, and she poured warm milk into the bottle. Oh, here you can see Avery with his tools. And here's Fern. Getting ready to... Well, actually, she's feeding that pig, isn't she? Hi, Nicole. Nice to see old friends, too. So, Mrs. Arable handed the bottle to Fern. Give him his breakfast, she said. A minute later, Fern was seated on the floor in the corner of the kitchen with her infant between her knees, teaching it to suck from a bottle. The pig, although tiny, had a good appetite and caught on quickly. The school bus honked from the road. Run, commanded Mrs. Arable, taking the pig from Fern and slipping a donut into her hand. Avery grabbed his gun and another donut. The children ran out to the road and climbed into the bus. Fern took no notice of the others in the bus. She just sat and stared out of the window, thinking what a blissful world it was and how lucky she was to have the entire charge of a pig. By the time the bus reached school, Fern had named her pet. Do you remember what they call the pig in Charlotte's Web? I wonder if you remember. We're about to find out. So she had selected the most beautiful name that she could think of. Its name is Wilbur, she whispered to herself. She was still thinking about the pig when the teacher said, "Fern, what is the capital of Pennsylvania?" "Wilbur," replied Fern dreamily. The pupils, the other children, giggled, and Fern blushed. I think she might have been a little bit embarrassed. She wasn't paying attention. She was thinking of Wilbur. So, that is the end of Chapter 1, Before Breakfast. Tomorrow, we will go on to Chapter 2. And before that, in the morning, if you're able and around, we'll be doing a virtual morning meeting. So stay tuned for that, and we'll have some other fun things planned for the day. So I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. I hope you liked listening to the first chapter of Charlotte's Web, and I miss you guys. I will see you here through Facebook tomorrow. Take care. Bye.